So I really like the system, the zones, which are essentially the chakras. So can you speak about what these zones are and like, let's break down trauma in love, relationships, and sex into the zones. Let's dive into this.
I'm gonna break all of it down.
He's stretching. Right? He's ready.
I'm gonna break all of it down, all right? Here we go.
First of all, what are the zones?
Okay, the zones at the Czech Institute, we learned about the zones. It's a part of the body that is the chakras, right? But the difference that we do at the Czech Institute is that we connect science more to it. And when Paul was connecting the science to it, it made sense to me. And I graduated with a degree in a Bachelor of Science in Movement Science. So when I started to see some science, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, but it still didn't connect. And then that's when I came up with something I call the 5 layers of energy. And that's when it made sense to me. So each zone, we call them zones because it holds energy, and it is a chakra, respectfully, right? It's like a location, but each zone has 5 layers of energy. They all have the same 5. But what happens is as you go up, the organs, glands, things start to change. So out of the 5 layers of energy, nervous system, organs and glands, muscles, emotion, which I'm always going to emphasize, energy in motion, and then the subconscious. All of those combined spit out an archetype. The subconscious communicates with the collective unconscious through symbols, images, through your dreams, through consequences. Sometimes we think it's just like, oh, that was bad luck, that was good luck. No. That's the subconscious, your subconscious mind, your programming, your paradigm communicates through the collective unconscious, and the collective unconscious communicates back a personality, an archetype. The more positive, the more functional archetype. The more negative, the more you're going to have the dysfunctional part of the archetype. Everything starts off with the nervous system. So you have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system.
Which the parasympathetic or sympathetic, which one's which?
Perfect. The sympathetic nervous system is known as the fight or flight. So when the body gets stressed or gets scared or goes through trauma, the nervous system perceives stress. The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal would then have the cortisol be released from the adrenal cortex. That would force the body to drive it into fight or flight. Having glycogen, stored glycogen released from glucagon, a hormone called glucagon, tells the liver, we need sugar, we need a fight or flight. And now a person's in fight or flight. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. But those with trauma have elevated cortisol levels because trauma leaves one with high levels of stress hormones. Therefore, in the 5 layers of energy, throughout the whole chakra system, as I keep going, that nervous system, every time I say the first layer is the nervous system, it's always going to be sympathetic until you learn on how to maintain your mind, body, emotions. Secondly, the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. Interestingly, the parasympathetic nervous system aligns perfectly with melatonin, the circadian rhythm when you go to sleep, growth hormone, it's rest and repair. A person that has trauma will find themselves feel guilty when it's time to rest. Their mind will make them feel like you're doing something wrong. You shouldn't be resting. You can go clean the kitchen. You can go make more money. Go check your email. It's not because it's subconscious only. It's also because that hormone of cortisol being high within this person is driving the psyche to believe you have to go for safety, security, and survival. And you do not rest. Until a person knows how to maintain or balance their nervous system, they'll always have that problem. The root chakra is, the first layer of energy is the nervous system. So you have the sympathetic nervous system, then the organs and glands. The main organ and gland on this layer of energy happens to be the adrenals. And then you have layer number 3, which is the muscular system. Feet, legs, psoas muscle, and quad. Those are going to be the muscles that are related to the root chakra or zone 1. Then you have emotion, energy, emotion. This person's energy, emotion, or emotions are going to be triggered anytime they move, anytime they have problems with their money, anytime people getting laid off, anything that's a threat to their safety and security. And subconsciously, we look for trauma from 0, the day that they're born, into 8 years old. Did they move a lot? Were they homeless? Were they abused? Were they abandoned? And usually that's the subconscious trauma that's related to that zone. So with the root chakra, you'll find people when they're functional, when they're good, they're the hero archetype. They made something out of their trauma. They made a way for themselves. But when they're not good, they're the victim archetype. Oh, the reason why I'm not successful is because, my mom and my dad did this or did this. They're always blaming somebody else. Sacral chakra. You have the sympathetic nervous system is going to be activated with fight or flight system. The organs and glands are going to be the reproductive system. The more trauma I see someone with the sacral chakra, the more I find PCOS or some type of cyst.
Prostate cancer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. your sex hormones are going to be robbed from nutrition. If you look up something called cortisol steal or progesterone steal, the more stressed that a person is, the more that their micronutrients like B5, cholesterol is stolen from pronedolone that usually feeds DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, is stolen to feed cortisol to support fight or flight because cortisol needs nutrition too. Now you'll find a person not being able to build or develop enough sexual energy or the nutrition needed for sex, for creating sperm or eggs. Now you'll find issues with infertility and things in that nature because cortisol comes from what? The sympathetic nervous system being activated. So you see how the first layer of energy communicates with the second layer of energy.
So
now,
not getting your period would be under this.
Not getting your period. I had a client that didn't get a period for 15 years.
Wow.
That's a fact. I ran into that a lot. Or premenopause. Women going in premenopause early.
Many years.
I'm seeing 33 years old. And then they start spotting as soon as we switch everything around. They're like, why? I'm spotting where I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling better, and I'm feeling this. And I'm like, because we're getting your body back into homeostasis. The muscles, the hips, TFL muscle, which is like these hip muscles that's on the side of your hips. And then you're going to have the lower back. The more inflammation the pelvic floor has, the more a person won't be able to stabilize their pelvis with their deep pelvic floor muscles. Therefore, if we turn this individual to the side and I do a gait analysis, meaning I get them to walk back and forth, you're going to notice the top part of the butt cheeks get tight. And we call that heart bottom syndrome. Their butt looks like a heart. Instead of looking the opposite way, healthy, as the butt, the gluteus maximus kind of comes down like a nice upside down heart, it's the opposite. The butt cheeks get really tight. So if you see a person standing from the side, you can see them clenching the gluteus medius, which is the muscle that goes right around the iliac crest that helps you stabilize your pelvis. It's overactive because they have no control of their deep abdominal wall. And now you'll find a whole kinetic chain problem. When I say kinetic chain, if the glute is tight, then you'll find the next thing with the knee and then the ankle have problems. And then if you go up from the glute, you have the shoulder and you have the neck. That's the kinetic chain. So if one thing's out of balance in that chain, they're all out of balance.
Makes sense.
That's going to be the main two areas as far as the muscles go. Emotions, this person feels alone. They feel unrelatable. This person's very hard on themselves, extremely hard on themselves. In fact, this person does a good job going out to the world pretending to be strong or tough or sarcastic, but they're putting a front on to protect themselves because their trauma comes from usually sexual, physical, or emotional abuse when they're growing up. They don't know who they truly are. We have to see what happened from 8 to 14. Did you grow up where you were sexually abused? Did you grow up in a household that made you feel guilty about your sex organs? Because of religion, because of beliefs, because of a cult? I find a lot of people growing up in some cults. The sacral chakra, when a person is functional, they're the artist. But when they're dysfunctional, they're the shielded archetype. Now, the shielded archetype is something I made up because I try to make something that can be very relatable to what I see. Shielded archetype is someone who is, they go out, like I said, go out into the world. They act tough. They have to because they're protecting themselves because they've been hurt so many times. But I'll tell you one thing. The more you get to know a shielded archetype and the more they trust you, the more you'll find out that these people are the most loving human beings you'll ever meet in your life. They're the most loyal, loving. They happen to be the best entrepreneurs. They're artists. All right. Solar plex, of course, sympathetic nervous system is activated, right? Because of trauma. The sympathetic nervous system being activated communicates with the organs and glands of the digestive system. So if the sympathetic nervous system's high, you're turning off digestion. Your digestion, your liver won't produce enough bile, your stomach won't produce enough stomach acid, and you'll be told that you have too much stomach acid, you have GERD. Most of the people that I come across that I coach have too little stomach acid. So I always ask them, okay, so if you have too much stomach acid, how long do you have to take the proton inhibitor? Well, I've been taking it for 3 years. Okay. So there's something going wrong if you had to take something for 3 years and your stomach is not producing or still producing too much acid. We have to master the reason why. So when you find issues with the stomach, the pancreas won't release enough enzymes. And now the blood flow from your digestive tract is sacrificed and pushed towards the heart and the main muscles to help you fight or flight. So now you'll find constipation. And the longer someone's constipated, the more the body will make an effort to pull water from the muscular system in the body to dump it through the digestive tract to get rid of the poop. And then they'll alternate between hard and soft stool, right? And then they're setting themselves up for a fungal infection or a parasite infection for the simple fact that if you leave garbage in the middle of your kitchen, you're going to see bugs and stuff, right? Same thing with poop. Watch this. Back pain. Why? The more inflammation the organ has, the more the muscle nearest to it won't work. The muscle communicates through the nervous system and doesn't have the same language as organs. Organs get communication of inflammation. The signal that the muscle picks up is pain. So it turns off, it inhibits. Therefore, a person gets bloated. If you're bloated, you can't activate your deep core muscles called the transverse abdominis. Meaning when you bend, you twist, you run, you're going through the iliac psoas muscle, the QL muscles, the TFL muscles, the adductor, and the quads. You're going to be pulling the pelvis forward into something called the anterior pelvic tilt. You're going to cause back pain, hip pain, and then it's going to continue to travel up the kinetic chain, and it's going to cause problems with your neck and your shoulders. And then
so this is related to someone being out of touch with their personal power.
That's the emotions. Here's the emotions that you get out of the solar plex. The biggest one, person can't say no. They don't know how to say no. If we sit this person down, we'll find this person's giving most of their time and their energy to people who don't deserve their time and their energy because they don't know how to say no. And yes, that comes from personal power, self-will, and confidence. How can you trust your gut if your gut is inflamed? That's a bar.
New song featuring Jay-Z. How can you trust your gut if your gut is inflamed? Well, I'm asking because all of those symptoms in my early 20s were what I had.
Yeah.
Bloating, amenorrhea, didn't get my period for 2 years, low hormones, and I was not in touch with my personal power, my dharma.
Of course, yeah.
So that's why, and now I don't have any of those issues. So it shows just by shifting my reality, my body is a reflection of that.
Yes, absolutely, because you can't become mindful with a body that's inflamed. Mm-hmm. The solar plex, right? You have the emotions. We spoke about that. A person, criticism. They're sensitive to criticism. They can't say no. They have confidence issues, etc. Usually because they can't trust their gut, right? The gut's inflamed. But the subconscious, I can usually find 14 to 21 years old is the stage that we go through the consciousness of finding ourselves. You go to high school, right? You go to college, and you got to go, what are you going to do for a living? You have a lot of decisions to make. Then that can leave them with emotions, energy emotions that were never expressed. What happens if you don't express emotions? You suppress them. Within what? The 5 layers of energy. Your nervous system, your organs and glands, your muscular system, and the subconscious mind. When a person is functional at the solar plex chakra, they become a warrior archetype. They go make things happen. They don't need nobody to tell them it's okay. They don't need nobody to confirm nothing. They go make it happen. But when they don't, they become something I put as the people pleaser archetype, as a dysfunctional archetype. They just people please. They don't know how to say no. They really don't want to do something, but their biggest fear is losing people. The reason why is because people really fear being alone, especially with trauma, because we lost a lot of people already.
And when you're alone, you have to sit with your own thoughts.
You have to sit with yourself, and you have to find you, the real you, the you never knew, right? It's just the version of yourself or your higher self that you have no relationship with. You know what I'm saying? And the old you will always come back and make everything consciously easy for you, but subconsciously will put you through pain for the rest of your life. Building the new version of yourself is different. Consciously, you go through everything that you don't want to do, pain. But subconsciously, you free yourself from pain. So you have the heart chakra next. What happens if the nervous system is the sympathetic nervous system's overdriven? What tends to happen from there is that the heart rate will increase. Blood pressure will increase. Breathing increases. So the heart and lungs, or the organs and glands that are connected to the heart chakra, right? And the immune system has a lot to do with the heart chakra as well. And then you have the muscular system. You can find people, usually, you can find them with upper cross syndrome. So they're closed off. So if we see them, their shoulders are falling forward, and their head is down. Or, talk to me, arms are folded. Yeah, that's cool. As soon as something emotional comes up, they fold their arms like this. They're blocking off.
I feel like a lot of these like gym bros are that. They put all this muscle to protect their hearts.
Oof. I can tell you something about that. I learned this. This wasn't something I discovered. This is something my mentor, Paul, taught me. The more that you see a man doing push-ups and bench press, the more he is saying no to his father. He's pushing his father away from childhood. Go test it. And then go see how many people are doing legs, especially gym bros, right? Or back. Another thing is the more that a man wants to be in fighting, especially boxing and MMA, usually their drive is coming subconsciously from protecting themselves from their father. So now you have the emotions of the heart chakra, right? So you have the nervous system, sympathetic. The whole chain is going to be sympathetic with people with trauma. The second layer of that is going to be the organs and glands of the heart and lungs. The third is going to be the muscles. The chest muscle is going to be really tight, and the chest muscle connects to the internal part of the shoulder, and it would contribute to pulling the shoulders internally. So you can have your shoulders hunched over, and people will start getting neck pain and think that they have to get a neck massage or fix their neck. But truth is that their chest muscles are too tight, and their rhomboid muscles, which are the muscles that are in the back, usually go over the scapula, support good posture throughout the thoracic spine, which is not your lower back, it's not your neck, it's right in the middle. And this is the place that is responsible for twisting. So you'll see a lot of people who do want to go to the gym only do sagittal plane exercises like push-ups, squats, but no twisting, okay? Or transverse, you got to twist. From there, a person will start experiencing really bad back pain, and they can actually get a little hump on the back of their neck. There's a little lump, right? The extra bone will start growing there. And emotionally, you can find two different things here, which I found them in my life. You can find one that I tell you the one I see the most. They're stuck in something called a 55% relationship. This is something I made up. You ready for what 55% relationship is? Most of their relationships are only alive because they give 55% or more to that relationship to keep it alive. But as soon as they go 50 and 50, it's over. That person never meets them 50%. So usually this person is giving more love than receiving. And love, grudges, hate are the emotions, the energy emotion that communicates through, and grief are the ones that rotate and basically move through the heart chakra. So the more out of balance the heart, the lungs, or the emotions are, the more that the whole layer of energy is going to be out of balance with that. They have to protect their energy. They have to protect their heart. And I usually find protecting your energy is all heart chakra. Now, the subconscious of the heart chakra, you'll find people that are functional are a lover archetype. They're good at bringing mom and dad that argue. Mom, dad, sit down. I got you. Let me talk.
This is my archetype. You haven't noticed, guys. I'm like, I just met you. Come on over. Let's hang out.
It's good to have the lover versus the dysfunctional. So the dysfunctional one is the performer. It's that one friend that is going through something. You go to a party and nobody would ever guess that that person's going through anything because they're the ones dancing in the middle of the club. They're the ones drinking. Yo, post this on the gram for me. They look amazing, but they're performing. They're acting as if they're not hurt. So now you have the throat chakra. What happens when the body's too much in fight or flight with the thyroid? Most people don't understand that most of the time when someone has issues with the thyroid, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, you can't find the problem there without high levels of cortisol. In fact, high levels of glucocorticoids, which is cortisol, inhibit thyroid stimulating hormone. Go look up the HPA, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal, and HPT connection on Google. You'll see a chart. Glucocorticoid that's released from the adrenal cortex inhibits thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid will make an effort to try to release more and rise. So a person would be seen as they have hyperthyroidism, or if it becomes autoimmune, which gets deeper, but let's just say hyper, person thinks that they're producing too much, and then before you know it, they go hypo. cortisol was the root cause of that, right? Now, what's causing the cortisol? Inflammation, digestive issues. When I work with clients, we have to find the root cause, of course. The organ and gland, the thyroid and parathyroid start becoming imbalanced. The muscle, the neck, you'll find the person, their neck flexors, which are muscles that actually, if you take your tongue and you push them up against the roof of your mouth, you'll see this muscle flex down, right? Contract. Well, your neck flexors go down and actually connect into your abdominals, right? They go all the way down. A person that has issues with the throat chakra will have weak neck flexors and their head will go forward. We call that forward head posture, right? The emotions is this person doesn't know how to communicate. Either they're a person who over talks every time you try to talk, or there's someone that never expresses on how they feel emotionally. And when I find where there's an imbalance there, usually chokes up or has a hard time talking to authority or speaking up for themselves. They'll have that's an energy blockage. Emotions, emotion is getting blocked through the 5 layers of energy. The emotions of this person, it's really driven from the subconscious of from 28 to 35 years old. They went through something consciously. They're going through the consciousness of communication. They're going to find this problem more at that time. People with the heart chakra, by the way, 21 to 28, you'll experience one of the biggest heartbreaks of your life.
21 to 28.
21 to 28. It doesn't have to be with a partner. You lost your father, your mother, you lost someone betrayed you. One of your best friends betrayed you. You go through stages of consciousness, and in order to know what love is, you have to know what a heartbreak is. Because that's what consciousness is, seeing polarity. You don't know what cold water is until you know what hot is. You don't know what love is until you know what hate is, right? It's the gift and the curse. But as soon as we try to have expectations or we want one thing to stay forever, that's like keeping the sun out all year round. You're going to burn the earth out. So you can't keep hustling. You can't keep this one lover in your life. A lot of times when you lose a lover, it's the universe pulling you away for you to go do work on yourself. The subconscious, you'll find a person with the throat chakra become the mask self-archetype. They have 2 versions of them. They give the world a version of themselves to make everybody else happy. It's different than the people pleaser. The people pleaser is people pleasing all day. No, the mask self-archetype, they know who they want to be. They actually, they try to be that person when they're alone. But then they put a mask on. They go into an office, they're having a conversation. They don't care about this conversation. And they go, hey, Nate, how you feel? Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God. They change their voice. Their whole demeanor changes. Their persona changes. They put a whole mask on to fit in. The functional part of this person is a communicator. It's someone, when you ever have an argument or you're talking to somebody, they keep over talking and you just stop and pause and wait for them. You don't say, hey, you just show by example how to communicate. When everybody's yelling at each other and you just sit there and you're not yelling, you guys are done yelling. That's a communicator that's someone who mastered the communicator. Now, the 6th and 7th chakra, the 5 layers of energy with trauma, I keep it simple. I'm not going to go crazy with it. At the end of the day, the hypothalamus and pituitary are located in between the 6th and 7th chakra. Trauma is always going to cause an imbalance there. But here's 2 things that it can do. The 6th chakra, it can cause someone to have a 50-50 mindset. One day you want to take on the world and you believe in all your dreams. The next day you don't. In fact, 1 hour of the day you feel like you're going to take over the world with your dreams, and then 30 minutes later, you don't. And you have this battle between the new you trying to arise, but the old you pulling you right back down. And the only reason why that's happening is because a person does not know how to control their nervous system. As soon as that nervous system gets out of balance, everything gets out of balance. Okay? Then the last one, 7th chakra. A person is going to be subconsciously driven from fear with trauma unless they balance that nervous system. When the body thinks it's in fight or flight, it doesn't go, oh, I'm in fight or flight. Your body was built for survival. And it's fearful. So if you have a sensitive nervous system, you have cortisol in your body all day, you think you can go into work positive every day? You become delusional. And that's what I find with the 7th chakra.